If you believe some calls never really end, even after the radio goes quiet, stay with me. Subscribe now. What I'm about to tell you is the call I still dream about. I hear it every night, not the sirens, not the shouting. It's the silence before the radio crackled, the pause that lasted just a second too long. That's how it always starts in my dreams. A quiet so deep it presses against your ears, followed by a voice that sounds calm, almost casual, as if it isn't about to change everything. Missing person, forested area, steep terrain. Last contact over 12 hours ago. I remember exactly where I was standing when the dispatcher spoke. I remember the smell of stale coffee in the station, the hum of the fluorescent lights, the way my body reacted before my mind had time to catch up. After decades in this job, your instincts move faster than thought. That doesn't make it easier. It just makes it inevitable. The missing person was young. Early 20s, went out late afternoon, didn't return. No phone signal, weather turning. The kind of call that crawls under your skin because you've seen how it ends too many times. We rolled out fast but not rushed. That distinction matters. Rushing gets people hurt. Moving with purpose keeps them alive. By the time we reached the trailhead, night had fully claimed the forest. The moon was hidden behind heavy cloud cover, and the air carried that damp, metallic smell that tells you the ground is slick and unforgiving. Leaves glistened under our lights like they were coated in oil. Every slope looked harmless until you stepped on it. I stood there for a moment before we moved in, looking at the dark wall of trees ahead of us. Forests don't look threatening in daylight. At night, they feel deliberate. Like they're watching you enter. I briefed the team, slow movement. Constant communication, no solo advances. I'd buried friends who thought experience made them immune to terrain. Experience just teaches you how fast things go wrong. As we pushed in, the sounds of civilization disappeared almost immediately. No traffic, no distant hum. Just boots on wet earth, the soft click of gear, and controlled breathing. Radios worked, but only barely. Signal faded and returned unpredictably as elevation changed. That unpredictability mirrors what happens inside your head on calls like this. You try to stay focused on procedure, but your mind keeps jumping ahead, filling the dark with possibilities you don't want to name. I'd worked dozens of missing person searches. Some end in relief, some end in silence. The forest doesn't announce which one you're getting. About 40 minutes in, one of the firefighters found a disturbed patch of ground near a narrow offshoot trail. Broken branches. Mud scuffed in a way that didn't belong to animals. Someone had gone that way in a hurry, or in confusion. We adjusted immediately, tightened the search area, slowed even more. In steep terrain, speed is the enemy. Gravity waits patiently for mistakes. The temperature dropped steadily. Cold doesn't announce itself loudly. It sneaks in, numbing fingers, stiffening joints, dulling reaction time. I flexed my hands constantly, feeling the ache in my knuckles, the tension in my forearms. Sweat cooled against my back when we stopped, sending a chill straight through my spine. That's when I started thinking about him, alone, injured or exhausted. Sitting or lying somewhere in the dark, listening to sounds he couldn't identify. Wondering if anyone was coming. That thought doesn't motivate you, it burdens you. Motivation is light. This is weight. We called out periodically, spacing our voices so they didn't overlap. Name first, then reassurance. Then silence again. Silence always answers back. An hour passed, then another. Fatigue crept in, not as weakness but as distraction. That's when accidents happen. I reminded myself to stay present. To focus on the ground in front of me, not the outcome ahead of me. At one point, the forest did something it often does at night. It made noise without meaning. A branch snapping. Leaves shifting. The sound of something moving just out of sight. Every sense sharpened, muscles tightening automatically. False alarms are exhausting. They steal energy you might need later. Then the radio crackled. A weak transmission from one of the teams farther downslope. They'd heard something. Not a voice, not clear. Just something that didn't belong to the forest. My heart rate jumped instantly. That physical response never goes away, no matter how long you do this job. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying or broken. We converged carefully, adjusting our approach to avoid dislodging rocks. The slope was steeper here, the ground uneven, roots exposed like traps waiting for tired feet. And then I heard it. A sound so faint it almost blended into the night. A breath, or maybe a word that didn't have the strength to be one anymore. I stopped everyone with a raised hand. The forest seemed to hold still, as if it knew this moment mattered. I called out again, clear, controlled, promising nothing I couldn't deliver. This time the sound came back, weak, broken, human, alive. If you're still listening, stay with me. This is where the call stops being procedural and becomes personal. That sound cut through me in a way I can't fully explain. Not relief, not adrenaline, something heavier. Because when you hear a voice in the dark after hours of nothing, you understand two things at once. That they're alive, and that they're barely holding on. I answered immediately, keeping my voice steady, almost calm on purpose. Calm travels farther than panic. I told him who we were, told him not to try to move. Told him he wasn't alone anymore, even if it didn't feel like it yet. His response came late, delayed like his body was deciding whether it was worth the effort. He didn't have the strength for full sentences. Just fragments, cold, slipped, can't feel my legs well. That last part stayed with me. We moved toward him slowly, adjusting our approach with every step. The slope dropped sharply now, the kind of terrain where one wrong move can turn a rescuer into another problem. Loose rock shifted under our boots. Roots jutted out at awkward angles. I felt my calves burning, the constant tension of balancing without ever fully relaxing. When we reached him, the first thing I noticed was how small he looked. Curled against the ground, jacket soaked, eyes wide but unfocused. His skin had that grayish tone I've learned to respect. Hypothermia doesn't shout, it whispers. I knelt beside him, careful not to change his position too fast. Introduced myself again, asked simple questions, name, age, where it hurt. His answers came, but slowly, like they had to travel a long distance before reaching his mouth. He'd gone off the trail trying to make up time. A shortcut he thought he could handle, slipped, tumbled, tried to stand and realized his leg wouldn't cooperate. His phone had died hours ago. After that, the forest took over. We insulated him immediately. Dry layers. Whatever warmth we could create without moving him too much. I could feel his shivering through the ground, violent at first, then slowing. That transition is never a good sign. I radioed command with the update. Found, alive, significant exposure, possible lower extremity injury. Steep terrain, technical extraction required. As soon as I finished speaking, the weight of that responsibility settled in. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about every person attached to a rope on that slope. We reassessed constantly, airway clear. Breathing rapid but steady, pulse fast and weak. He was alert, but drifting. I stayed close, kept him talking, even when his answers barely made sense. Silence lets people slip away. Words keep them anchored. At one point, he asked me if he was going to die out there. That question never gets easier, no matter how many times you hear it. You don't lie. You don't promise. You give them something better. Direction. I told him what we were doing next. Step by step, what he would feel, what would happen after that. The future, even in small pieces, gives people something to hold on to. The rope team arrived quietly, efficiently. Headlamps moving with purpose, anchors set, lines tested. Every knot checked twice. Gravity doesn't care how tired you are. We packaged him carefully, explaining every movement before we made it. His body reacted to each shift with pain and fear, but he stayed with us. That mattered more than anything. As we began the ascent, the forest seemed to close in tighter, like it didn't approve of what we were doing. The slope fought us for every inch. Mud sucked at boots. Rocks rolled when they shouldn't. My shoulders screamed under the strain of the rope, muscles trembling with controlled effort. Halfway up, we had to stop, not because of equipment. Because of us. Fatigue isn't dramatic, it's subtle. Slower reactions, shorter tempers. That's when mistakes happen. We rotated positions, took water, checked each other's faces for signs of cold and exhaustion. No one argued. Experience teaches you when to listen. I leaned down close to him again and told him we were still moving forward. He didn't answer this time, but his eyes found mine. There was fear there and trust. That combination is heavy to carry. If you're still listening, stay with me. Subscribe now, because this is where many rescues fail, not at the beginning, not at the discovery, but in the long, grinding middle where exhaustion tests discipline. We moved again, slowly, deliberately, refusing to rush the mountain. Above us, the faint glow of the trailhead lights finally appeared through the trees. Distant, unimpressive to anyone else. To us, they looked like a promise. The call wasn't over, but for the first time that night, it felt like it might end differently than my dreams. The final climb felt endless, not because the slope got steeper, but because the body had already given everything it wanted to give. What was left came from something quieter: discipline, habit, refusal. My legs burned with every step. Not sharp pain, just that deep, grinding ache that lives in the bones. My hands were stiff inside my gloves, fingers numb enough that I had to look at the rope to be sure I was gripping it the way I thought I was. Breath came heavier now, fogging the air in front of my face, each exhale hanging for a second before disappearing into the dark. The forest was silent again, but it wasn't the same silence as before. This one felt watchful, like it was waiting to see if we'd finish what we started. The young man barely moved now. His breathing was slower, shallow but steady. I stayed close, one hand on the litter, another ready to steady him if the terrain shifted. Every few minutes I spoke his name, even when he didn't answer. Sound reminds people they still exist. Silence lets them drift. We stopped one last time before the trailhead. Everyone needed it. Not a discussion, just a shared understanding. We checked knots again, adjusted grips. Took a few seconds to breathe without moving. In those moments, you become acutely aware of your own heartbeat, loud and insistent, like it's reminding you that you're still part of this equation too. When we moved again, the lights of the trailhead finally broke through the trees completely. White and steady, artificial, perfect. I've never loved anything so simple as a light on solid ground. The transition from slope to level terrain was almost jarring. Suddenly the fight with gravity was over. Paramedics were there immediately, voices calm, movements precise. Warm blankets wrapped around him, oxygen mask in place. Force started. His body reacted instantly, like it had been holding itself together out of sheer stubbornness until it felt safe to let go. I stepped back then. You don't linger when your role is finished. You watch. You make sure nothing was missed. And then you let go. As they loaded him into the ambulance, he turned his head slightly and looked at me. His eyes were clearer now. Still scared, still exhausted, but present. He tried to speak. Couldn't manage it. Instead, he nodded once. That was enough. The ambulance doors closed softly. No rush, no chaos. Just the quiet confidence that comes when a plan holds. Red lights washed over the trees, painting the forest in brief flashes before disappearing down the road. And just like that, the call ended. At least officially. Back at the station later, everything felt too normal. Gear hung to dry, radios charged, coffee brewed again. The world didn't pause to acknowledge what almost happened out there. It never does. I sat alone for a while after the reports were done, helmet on the table in front of me, hands resting on it without thinking. That's when the weight finally settled in, not as fear, but as reflection. I thought about how close the margins were. A flashlight battery, a shortcut, a few hours. Small decisions stacking quietly until the forest took control. That's what stays with you. People imagine rescue work as moments of action strung together by adrenaline. The truth is quieter. It's hours of restraint, of moving slowly when every instinct wants to rush, of respecting terrain, time, and your own limits. That call still finds me in my sleep sometimes. Not the dramatic parts. Not the climb, not even finding him. It's the moment before we heard his voice. That stretch of darkness where anything could have been waiting for us. That's what the mind replays when it's quiet. We got him out, he recovered. I heard later that he went back to school after rehab, that he tells people he was lucky. He's right. But luck alone doesn't carry someone out of a forest. Preparation does. Teamwork does. Experience does. And the willingness to keep going when the dark feels endless. If you've listened this far, stay with me. Subscribe. These stories aren't told to impress, they're told to remind. To respect the places that don't forgive mistakes. To understand how thin the line really is between confidence and consequence. That call still lives with me. Not because it went wrong, but because it almost did. And because sometimes, when the night is quiet enough, I can still hear it waiting to begin.